And today we've got quite a bit to cover, so we're going to kick off straight away and move through, I think, some interesting topics for you this morning. Today we're going to look at part one of a series that Ben Olih of our office is developing around safety leadership in unprecedented times. We're going to look at dangerous trailer ramps and dangerous forklift practices. Increasingly, we're hearing about mandatory vaccination for COVID. We're going to discuss that with you. And I came across an interesting article on hypnosis and safety investigations. Look into my eyes. So we'll come to those in a moment. So let's kick off with our first subject or topic for this morning. And I'd like to introduce Ben Olih, who's been with Safety Action now for 4 years. Just to let you know, because not all of you will have met Ben personally, Ben has a bachelor degree in industrial chemistry and petrochemical technology. He has a master's degree in health and safety management and currently undertaking his master's in education. So with that quick introduction, I'll hand over to Ben. Tell us about safety leadership in unprecedented times, Ben.
Yes, thank you, Gary. Basically, in the past 2 years, we've actually seen a lot of changes in our world. And this means that as safety professionals, we actually now there's a big demand for us to change and reinvent the way we do safety in the workplace. So this means that we no longer have the luxury of having, being in the workshop, being able to supervise everybody, because some people now actually work from home, and we still have to manage their safety while they undertake business tasks. So I came up with 4 strategies. There are actually 7, but we discussed 4 of those strategies in the newsletter on how, as a safety leader or as a safety manager, we can actually manage safety in unprecedented times. And I want to start by talking about the importance of authenticity. So when we talk about authenticity, we're actually saying that your team needs to see that you as a safety manager is genuine about your commitment to their health and safety. So it's not just about ticking the boxes or pretending to be committed. In unprecedented times, it's actually more challenging. So we have to think about, reinvent ways on how we can actually show that their well-being is still a priority for us. And in doing that, it's very important to also note that there's a lot of changes taking place. For example, a mom of 3 having to do her work and still achieve her KPIs while she's working from home, and there's a crying toddler around. You as a safety leader needs to think about, what do I do? How do I communicate with her? How do I interact with her? And basically help her in every way to support her to ensure that she still remains productive, but also she still remains, she still feels that she's being supported. So it's not just about sitting back, it's actually about taking that step, catching up with them, reminding them that you have an open door policy. So they can come and discuss with you about whatever safety concerns they have, whatever work area concerns they have. This time the work area might be their bedroom or their living room, but tell you about things, and basically you do everything that you possibly can. And I want to conclude this point by talking about the importance of reminding your team about the support services you have. Sometimes it's very easy to forget when they join our business 3 years ago, 5 years ago, but some businesses have fantastic programs lined up to support their workforce during this challenging time. So keep reminding them about what you actually have in offer. Now that leads me to the second point, which is the need for us to get other safety support or safety experts to work along with us to help us achieve our safety objectives. Now, I'm sure I've seen this happen many times when I walk into maybe a business And I can see the workers light up because they see that their safety leader has brought in someone who they believe has better understanding of the challenges they are facing. So it's very important that we don't have to be alone. We need to get, other experts, because what we're dealing with today could be more of psychosocial risk. It might not be machine guarding. So you might really not have all the expert, you might not be have the experience of dealing with some of the emerging risks. So you can basically get other experts to actually go along with you to ensure that you're actually doing the maximum to maintain a high level of safety in your workplace. Now, the third point, which is also very, very important, everyone loves to work in a business that is like a family or like a community. Now, with COVID, it means that we are isolated and it becomes really challenging to cope. Many of our team members don't have access to their supervisors, and so they have to work and sort a lot of things by themselves. So it's important that during stressful times, we make people feel that they are not just a number, but they are an integral member of our work community. And there are many things we could do to encourage this. We could actually schedule regular catch-up, talk with your supervisors to schedule regular catch-up with members of your team. But also you can also, do simple things like have a game of trivia during the break, and that can really help. Now, I'll just quickly run over the last point because we have a lot of ground to cover, which is contingency plans. It's important right now more than ever before that every business has a contingency plan, because basically we must still be able to achieve our safety targets, whether it's normal operation or during contingency operation. It's very important that as a safety leader, you are thinking ahead. Today, there's a topic about mandatory vaccination. Have you started to, are you having that talk with members of your team? It's very important that we have that talk. It's very important that we begin to do something really important and begin to take steps. Talk to your senior management, talk to people about mandatory vaccinations and tell them what is your take. That's actually one of the ways we can actually apply contingency plans. So it's one of those things, being authentic, involving experts like yourself, and building a sense of community, as well as having a good contingency plan, is all part of what helps us to be more effective safety leaders. So I'm going to hand over to Gary right now. Thank you, Gary.
Thanks, Ben. Before I let you go, I recall before the session you mentioned about contingency planning, that we all have to have in our mind that COVID is not going to go away, or it may come back in a different guise, or there may be a different virus in the future. With world travel, we're going to continue to have this. So I like your point about the contingency plan. Maybe it's not a COVID plan, maybe it is a contingency plan for virus or health issues. Am I right? Is that how the business is going to manage those moving forward?
Yes. So just like you said, it's very important that we think about, even there may be other pandemics. There might even be the way we do business might change. We might have most of our workforce now working from home, and that brings about a risk on its own. So it's all about being able to think ahead and get those good contingency plans and involve the stakeholders in the whole process.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Ben. We'll move on, but we'll certainly take any questions if people have got. And if we don't have time during this session, it's okay. We will either come back to you or include it in the following segment. Actually, I've just been reminded that I should have said at the start. Our webinars are recorded, which makes them available for you or any of your team later. Just go to our website, click on the webinars and blogs, and you can actually view this later as well. So let's turn to our next topic that I want to share with you. This is important for us. This is the month September. We for our safety performance benchmarking survey, and just to show you some of the things that are actually we've been tracking over a number of years now. So we're going back to 2011. It was the first year that Safety Action ran the safety performance benchmarking survey. And you can see here inspections conducted. You can see here LTI rate, MTI rate, how they've tracked over that period of time. The red, yellow, green for the 2018 year was whether they improved on the previous time or deteriorated. But you'll see because they're picking up very large samples, the numbers generally don't change very quickly. And so this actually picks up, this survey over a number of years shows us what the trends are in Australia. People, for example, workers' comp is largely determined by set rates by government for each industry. And so the thing that will vary, that will simply be the individual performance, which is the workers' comp claims and the cost of claims. So we find what drives workers' comp cost claims is in fact days lost per 100 employees is the best measure out of all of those that will actually dictate and give you the best predictor for future premiums, assuming the government doesn't change the premium rates. So that gives you some idea. A number of people say, do we have too many or too few safety people? Or I'm working on my own, I'm flat out. How do I explain to my executives team that I need more resources? Participate in this survey, help us out and we will help you. What you can see in this trend is going back to 2011, it was on average for our survey, that's the companies that participate in our survey, one safety person per 100 employees. Now, bear in mind, you'll have certain industries, high risk, who have people spread out and will need more people because they're geographic zones. If you've got a condensed work area, well maintained, quite stable operations, that may be a lower number, and particularly if it's large volume in the one spot. So it varies somewhat, and you can see here that it's been trending down slightly. Is this because companies are pulling resources out of safety, or do they believe that there's technological advances that are helping them to do this quicker and easier? I'll leave you to judge, to tell me whether that's the case. What I can tell you, if your business has not participated, it's quick and easy to participate. The data is kept confidential. Each organisation is not identified in the report. We provide each participant with an ID number so that you can see where your company or business is within the survey, where we provide the spectrum of data. There's no difficult data to collect, and it's okay if you can't answer all the questions and provide all the data. We average out and provide averages and benchmarks for the data that we're given. And so our survey is not like some things where they won't let you move to the next question until you answer this question. We haven't done that. Just give us the data you've got. That's okay. What is the sort of questions that the survey answers for you? What safety systems actually improve safety? What safety initiatives are effective and which ones are not? Every year, my good friends in a variety of businesses say, this year we're going to do X, we're going to do Y. Well, guess what? Some of those things are useless. Some of those things you think up and do not work. They do not improve safety. And it's only through doing benchmarking surveys that we can help you to understand what safety initiatives on average have been shown in industry to actually improve safety performance, or you're doing something merely so you feel good. And if that's okay, if you just want to feel good, that's all right, but don't pretend to your business and to everyone else that what you're doing is something to improve safety. Safety is a fact, it's not an opinion, and we can measure that. So we can measure the things that actually help us improve safety. How are you? Most companies know how they are in their own industry. For example, the water industry has their own benchmarking survey. What we explain, we've got a number of our good friends in the water industry, for example, are participating in our survey. What we can show them is how you perform across broader industry, because sometimes you can be the big fish in a small pond. So what you need to understand is what the whole ocean is looking like, what's the trends. So that's the survey. here's another, don't worry about the squinty-eyed text. We ask simply a number of questions. Do you have, for example, a 5-year or 10-year strategy and safety vision? And people answer yes or no. That's quite easy. So all you need to answer is yes or no to that question. But based on your answer, we then match that to your other performance criteria, like your LTI rate, MTI rate, days lost, workers' comp cost, to see if that doing that thing, did it improve safety or not? So if it's green, it had a positive effect on safety. If it's amber, either neutral to negative, and if it's red, it did not improve safety. So in fact, the safety could have gone backwards, not because of that, but it went backwards, which meant that initiative was ineffective. So you can see here that when you get the report, you'll be able to read all the details. You can see what safety initiatives you probably should be focusing on to actually get good results. What I can share with you, as you can see there, having clear safety vision is green across all of those lag indicators. That tells us having a 5-year or 10-year safety vision and safety strategy is a positive thing to have in your business. So if you don't, that's one thing you can now look at. I'll drop to the bottom of the table. And question 19 and 20, do you do annual internal safety audit of your own safety system? That's largely green across the board, a couple of ambers. And also, do you do a 3-yearly external audit? Do you arrange to have an independent safety audit of your safety system about every 3 years? And that's been shown to be green across all the lag performance indicators. So that suggests to us at this early stage that this is in fact one of the few things that will provide a green performance across those measured parameters. This is fairly early days. Dr. Stephen Webber of our team crafted these new questions for the first time in our last survey, which went out in 2018. So we're now nearly 3 years on with COVID in between. So we've got to get on with life. We're running the survey again. So please participate if you haven't. If you've got some friends in other organisations, please ask them to do it. All you need to do is go to our website, www.safetyaction.com.au. Simple as that. Front page of our website, click on the survey button. It's as simple as that. And I'm told by a number of friends who have done the survey, it only takes about 14 minutes or so to do it. In the newsletter, I've mentioned about dangerous hydraulic trailer ramps because there was a recent prosecution where a person was seriously injured and died sometime later as a result of heavy trailer ramps falling down and striking the person. And you can see in the image, in the photo there, a yellow zone. This is what we call the drop zone. This is where these ramps can fall suddenly like a rat trap if the hydraulics are not operating correctly or if the safety chains are not in place. I found this interesting because I personally, a number of years ago, took a young female lawyer and we flew up to the northwestern Victoria to a remote farm to investigate an almost identical accident. So what this tells me is that around industry, this is still happening and the people do not understand the risks involved with these type of trailer ramps. So, oops, bear with me. So how do we avoid trailer ramp accidents? My suggestion is number one, if you're involved in logistics, you have large trucks coming and going from your facility, you have your own plant and equipment that may be coming or going from your facilities with trucks like this. One, make everyone aware of the drop zone risk. And you might like to liken it to a rat trap and say, this is a rat trap. Do not step in this zone, right? This is a no-go area unless the safety chains are connected. And you can see a chain on the truck there and they hold the chains in the upright position. Where possible, have two-way hydraulic rams. If you don't know what that means, don't worry. Just tell your technical team or your transport team, they will know. So two-way merely means you push a lever and the hydraulic ram raises the ramp. If you've got two-way hydraulics, you push the lever the other way and the hydraulics lower the ramps. If you only have one way, they raise the ramps, but in fact you have to push the ramp over the center position, balance position, and it actually falls down on the other side if you've only got one-way hydraulics. So two-way hydraulics are safer. Secondly, within the hydraulic system, they have what they call either a burst valve or a flow control valve, which means even if the hydraulics fail or there's a leak, the ramps will not descend rapidly like a rat trap. So you need a couple of safety devices built in, but start with awareness. That's the first thing you can do right now while you look at the engineering and design to fix those things. Let's turn to mandatory COVID vaccination at work. Ben Olih just mentioned that a couple of minutes ago. We're increasingly having friends and clients ask us, should we implement a policy of mandatory vaccination for COVID-19? So a couple of things first. It's legally required for certain industries or workers, and this is evolving almost weekly. So you need to understand that COVID-19 is rapidly changing and the government is not negligent, and I don't think the health department are negligent, nor employers, but we're moving quickly to try and understand what should we do, what shouldn't we do. So if it's mandated by government, is the safest position for you. If it is not mandated by government and you don't follow the principles I'm about to tell you, then you could reasonably expect to be challenged in the industrial courts that what you have done is implemented unfair or inappropriate company rules. So, and they could be challenged and overturned. So the safest is if the government will nominate your industry or workers or certain workers that need to be mandatory vaccinated. That's legally the safest position for your company. So let's think outside of that. As I said, this situation's evolving quickly. The second thing you need to understand is why are you doing it? There's a lot of emotion around this. And I say, oh, I'm going to make it mandatory. Well, for what reason? So let's understand. By the way, I'm double vaccinated, okay? So I'm vaccinated, but that does not guarantee that I will not catch COVID again or catch it at all, sorry. But I'm less likely to be seriously affected by it. And it doesn't guarantee that I won't spread it to others. If my hands touch a contaminated surface, I could pass this on to other surfaces and other people. So remember, vaccinated people still can get COVID, but hopefully not seriously affected, and can still spread it to others. So this is not about necessarily stopping the spread of COVID. It'll reduce it, but not stopping it. So why are you doing it? I'll tell you why. What you're doing is you and I have a duty of care for the safety of our workers, and that is as far as reasonably practicable. And the thing that's becoming more reasonably practicable is availability of a vaccine that does work, has a high rate of performance of succeeding in protecting people against the worst effects of COVID-19. So as the vaccine becomes more widely available and we've got over the backlog of people waiting to be vaccinated and the government determine at what age people can get it and what categories, and it's widely available, it might be regarded this time next year that it is a negligent employer that hasn't actually indicated that that their workers should be vaccinated. Because remember, if the person catches COVID at your workplace, you have not provided a safe workplace. The fact that the person's unvaccinated means they could suffer serious effects. So that's what the vaccine's about, is preventing the serious effects, not necessarily 100% guarantee you won't get COVID. So it doesn't stop spreading or catching it. It's primarily about the duty of care to that individual worker that you have. And you can't guarantee to each worker that it is a safe place for them this time next year if they're not vaccinated. So you might believe that it's appropriate to implement mandatory vaccination, not now, but possibly later this year or early next year. So the things you could do: consult with your worker representatives so that you can show that you have consulted. That is a legal requirement. Provide training and awareness so that people understand why you're doing it and how to do it. And allow reasonable lead time to comply before you implement your mandatory vaccine policy. So regardless of whether vaccination is mandatory, follow the normal good practices that we've established for nearly 2 years now. Social distancing, good hygiene, cleaning common contact surfaces regularly, encouraging staff who have any ill health effects whatsoever, if in doubt, please stay home and get tested. And if people are test positive, isolate immediately away from your workplace, and obviously you'll notify the authorities. So there's some tips on mandatory vaccination. Another one that came up just recently, which was of interest to me, was the case of dangerous forklift practice. And our Office for Safety Action is in Clayton, here in Melbourne, and this case happened in the Clayton area. And the Victorian County Court refused to discount a fine of $375,000 on a company and a company director, despite the fact that the company director was semi-retired and 82 years old. You might have thought, oh, we're going to discount the fine he's 82 years old, he's semi-retired, he's not really up with what he should be in business. The court took the view that operating a forklift without a license, irrespective of your age, you should not be doing it. 2, raising somebody on a loose pallet standing freely on the tines of a forklift is inherently dangerous, and everyone knows that. So there's no question that this is known to be dangerous. And so I think in this case, quite rightly, they refused to discount the fine for the company or the aging director. And just to understand, the director had a friend come into the factory, I think on a weekend from memory, raised his friend up on the loose pallet, who fell and died. So how do you feel now? So it was illegal. You're operating without a license. You're doing an illegal, unsafe practice. So what have I noticed? I've been a safety engineer for 30 years, so I see a bit of this unsafe practice. Thankfully, not too many of the actual falls, but some of them. I actually are increasingly seeing this practice demonstrated on television programs. I like cars, and a lot of the car restoration programs, they have forklifts in their little factoriettes, etc. And you see things like you're seeing in the image here. And so I actually believe the media and television is part of our problem. Once you see something being done over and over and over and being done safely, 1, you think it's safe. 2, you think it must be okay and legal because these people are doing it and they're being filmed doing it. So I don't understand. I've watched some of the Aussie gold miners and Aussie opal hunter television programs, and I see similar practices. And I'm wondering, is WorkSafe watching the television as well and seeing what I'm seeing? So I'm just sharing with you what is driving these things to happen. So coming back to this case, the county court was told not only was that an illegal and unsafe practice that director undertook, on the site at the time, there was a scissor lift and a boom elevator platform that could have performed the same task with total safety, and it was not used. So the company had on site the equipment. The person just chose not to use it. So I think that's probably fair game that they didn't reduce the fine. So if you are going to have, if you're not going to use a scissor lift or boom elevator, then 1, make sure the pedestrian cage that goes on the forklift is certified to the Australian Standard 2359. For example, has inward opening gates, sprung loaded preferably, handrails, top rail, mid rail, toe board, maybe infill with mesh, infill mesh at the back to the mast, manufacturer's plaque with a safe working load and the cage secured to the to the mast. You need to have rules, for example, only the arms over the handrails, but not the body. Otherwise, you have to wear a harness. The forklift is not to move horizontally, only vertically. And when the people are down, they can then move the forklift horizontally again, but is not to move horizontally when it's raised. And I mentioned earlier with the truck trailer ramps, have the hydraulics with a safety valve so that the cage won't descend suddenly if there's a hydraulic failure. So I told you we have a lot to cover today, and I'm coming up to our time, so I'll just quickly mention, maybe it's my sense of humour, look into my eyes about hypnosis. And once again, we see a lot of television programs and crime shows where people get hypnotised and they find things out that they couldn't remember consciously. So this is the concept. So some people have said, can this help us with accident investigation? Can we get people to remember stuff that they actually did see, but they can't consciously remember or recall or bring back to us? So I just want to warn you, can read the article in our September newsletter if you like. Number one, hypnosis has been scientifically shown to help treat things like pain disorders, some medical conditions, and habit disorders like smoking. It actually does work for some of these things for many people. But what you need to remember, though, it has also been shown, hypnosis, to create false memories. And not only create false memories, but create false memories with such conviction that the people are more determined that what they've created in their mind actually is true and happened when it may not have happened. And this has been scientifically proven. So this is not Gary Rowe's opinion about hypnosis. It's good for certain things. What does this mean for safety? Stick to scientifically proven techniques and be wary of popular new things which promise unrealistic improvements. So there's hypnosis. Look into my eyes. Andrea of our team is presenting at the Canadian World Congress on Safety and Health this month. It runs from the 20th to the 23rd of September. You can go to our newsletter and get the link if you're interested. Andrew will be talking about the latest things about robot safety. So just to finish off, I'm sorry I'm a couple of minutes over. Next month, October, is Safe Work Australia annual Safe Work Month. Commences on the 1st of October. Kits are available on Safe Work Australia's website. What I'd like you to do, think about what you're going to do in your business to raise awareness on safety. And I'm a safety engineer. I've always been wary of kitschy little things that just raise, why are we only doing safety once a month? Isn't it all the time? But this is about what you do to bring awareness of safety back up to the team into prime focus. Some things are really good, as I explained in our benchmarking survey. So if you've got any really good ideas, just email them into us or call our office, share your plans for promoting safety, and we'll share those in our next newsletter. So next month, Ben's going to provide part 2 of his safety leadership in unprecedented times. He outlined 4 of his 7 key strategies today. We're going to look at psychology in emergencies. I also found this rather interesting article I came across. Steve Webber of our team has updated the top 10 OSHA violations. These are the US Safety Authority, and we'll then pick up the Australian breaches, one of the most common ones, shortly, and of course your tips for the October Safety Month. So that brings us to the conclusion of our webinar this morning. Thank you for joining us and your support as always. It's always appreciated. Stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you and goodbye.